slow down, you're moving too fast. You gotta make the morning last. Just kicking down the cobblestones, looking for fun and feeling groovy. Ba-da-da-da-da-da, feeling groovy. Hello lamppost, what you knowin'? I've come to watch your flowers growing. Ain't you got no rhymes for me? Doodle-doo-doo, feeling groovy. Ba-da-da-da-da-da, feeling groovy. I got no deeds to do, no promises to keep. I'm dappled and drowsy and ready for sleep. Let the morning time drop all its petals on me. Life, I love you, all is groovy. Ba-da-da-da-da-da, feeling groovy. Hello lamppost, what you knowin'? I've come to watch your flowers growing. Ain't you got no rhymes for me? Doo-doo-doo-doo, feeling groovy. Ba-da-da-da-da-da, feeling groovy.
Good morning, St. Francis. It is good to see you today. I love that song that the trio just sang, the 59th Street Bridge song. It is one that just fills me with joy. I remember back when I was in high school, I was with my friend Kevin O'Rourke, and I'd had a very busy morning. We'd had a church track meet, and I'd won 7 events, and I just loved it. And then we were getting ready for the afternoon events. And we were just walking down underneath the freeway, underneath the bridge, and that song came on our radio, and we stopped and just said, slow down, you're going too fast. It was a lot of stuff, and so we just relaxed for a few moments and danced. That's kind of what we're going to do today, is celebrate. We're going to listen, we're going to celebrate, we're going to hear what it is that God has to say to us. I have several announcements that are celebrations, but that are also calls to you to see if this is something you need to listen to. First of all, Tejon has their Treasures for Tejon action and event coming up on August the 7th, and they would love for you to be a donor. They need gifts, collectibles, gift cards. If you have any of that stuff, will you please bring it to the office? Tejon office, or we could pick them up at the church office, but let us know so that we can get that to John. John's going to be out on the parking lot on the 31st from 10 to noon if you would like to bring it on that day. Second of all, I heard of an interesting opportunity this week, and it was very quick. It's in the town of Holtville. Holtville is just west of Yuma, and in the Imperial Valley, and they just closed a church there, and the CalPAC conference are choosing to make it into an immigration welcome center, similar to what we've done here at St. Francis, but there's some repair work and some fix-up that has to go into it, to add showers and add laundry facilities. If you would like to be part of a team that will do that, that will be happening this week, starting on Wednesday. If you would like to do that, please get hold of me, and I will get your information to the appropriate people. It's 2 or 3 days worth of work. They'd like to start on Wednesday and be done on Saturday. Let me know, and I can get you probably a place to be able to stay in Yuma. I have some connects. Next, I want you to pray for Debbie Mounts. You see our rose up here on the altar. That is for her sister who passed away this week. And so please keep Debbie and her family in your prayers. The office is reopening this week. That's a great celebration. We're getting better. We're not quite over all of this pandemic. Numbers are beginning to creep up again, so we have to be careful, but at least it feels like we are in a safe place to be able to take some steps forward. That's happening as well in Pucallpa, where we go on mission trips. My friend Victor sent me a thing the other day that said for the first time they are having vaccinations at the refuge for people over 60. Now think about that timeline. How long ago was it that over 60 were able to get vaccinations here? And now that's at the space they're in. So please pray for them as they continue to heal and for the timeline that's there. Slow down. You're going too fast. Went through a bunch of announcements quickly, and we need to slow down a bit because we have a lot of good stuff to do today. So calm your hearts as we light our candles and we begin our celebration.
Listen in the silence, listen in the noise, listen for the sound of the Spirit's voice. Listen in the silence, listen in the noise. Listen for the sound of the Spirit's voice. Listen in the silence. Listen in the noise. Listen for the sound of the Spirit's voice.
Truly, we live with mysteries too marvelous to be understood. How grass can be nourishing in the mouths of lambs. How rivers and stones are forever in allegiance with gravity, while we ourselves dream of rising. How two hands touch and the bonds will never be broken. How people come from delight or the scars of damage to the comfort of a poem. Let me keep my distance always from those who think they have the answers. Let me keep company always with those who say, look, and laugh in astonishment and bow their heads.
Oh, heavenly day. All the clouds blew away. Got no trouble today with anyone. The smile on your face I live only to see. It's enough for me, baby. Oh, heavenly day, heavenly day, heavenly day. Tomorrow may rain with sorrow. Oh, here's a little time we can borrow. Forget all our troubles in these moments of you. Oh, because right now the only thing that all we really have to do is have ourselves a heavenly day. Just lay here and watch the trees sway. Can see no other way. No way. Heavenly day, heavenly day, heavenly day. No one at my shoulder bringing me fear. Got no clouds up above me, no, no, bringing me tears. I got nothing to tell you, I got nothing much to say. Only I'm glad to be here with you on this heavenly, 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 heavenly day. Oh, my troubles just gone far away for a while anyway. Heavenly day, heavenly day, heavenly day. Tomorrow may rain with sorrow. Oh, here's a little time we can borrow. Forget all our troubles in these moments of you. Because right now, only thing that all we really have to do is have ourselves a heavenly day. Just lay here and watch those trees sway. Can't see no other way. No way. Heavenly day, heavenly day, heavenly day, heavenly day, heavenly day, heavenly day.
Today's Children's Time is a book by Bird Baylor. I'm in charge of celebrations. Sometimes people ask me, aren't you lonely out there with just desert around you? I guess they mean the bear grass, the yuccas, and the cactus and the rocks. I guess they mean the deep ravines and the hawk nests in the cliffs and the coyote trails that wind around the hills. Lonely? I can't help laughing when they ask me that. I always look at them surprised, and I say, how could I be lonely? Once I saw a triple rainbow that ended in a canyon where I'd been the day before. I was halfway up a hill, standing in the drizzle of rain. It was almost dark, but I wouldn't go in because of the rainbows, of course. And there at the top of the hill, a jackrabbit was standing up on his hind legs, perfectly still, looking straight at that same triple rainbow. I may be the only person in the world who's seen a rabbit standing in the mist, quietly watching 3 rainbows. That's worth a celebration anytime. I wrote it down and drew the hill and the rabbit and the rainbows and me. And here's the photograph. Another one of my greatest of all celebrations is called the Time of Following Stars. It lasts almost a week in the middle of August, and I wait all year for those hot summer nights when the sky goes wild. You can call them meteor showers if you want to. Me, I like to say they're falling stars. All that week I sleep outside. I give my full attention to the sky. And every time a streak of light goes shooting through the darkness, I feel my heart shoot out of me. One night I saw a fireball that left a long red blazing trail across the sky. After it was gone, I stood there looking up, not quite believing what I'd seen. The strange thing was, I met a man who told me he had seen it too, while he was lying by a campfire 500 miles away. He said he did not sleep again that night. Suddenly it seemed that we two spoke a language no one else could understand. Every August of my life, I'll think of that. Walking back home, kind of humming, sometimes I think about those people who ask me if I'm lonely here. I have to laugh out loud.
I see the light of God in you, the shining light of love comes through, and I am blessed to be with you, O heavenly child of God. I see the light of God in you, the shining light of love comes through, and I am blessed to be with you, O heavenly child of God.
I love that story that Nancy read to you for the children's time. I'm in charge of celebrations. It's especially poignant this year because very recently the author of that book, Bird Baylor, passed away. And so please keep her in your celebrations. She has been a voice here at this church and in my life for a long time. She's from right in this area, and she speaks well about this area where we live. It is a holy place for her. It is a place of celebration for her. And so in keeping with that, I wanted to share 4 pictures of some of my holy places, the places where I am able to slow down. If you see me in a tedious meeting, a contentious meeting, and you see me looking at my phone, I'm probably looking up one of these pictures so that I can just look at it for a time and rest and remember and strengthen myself for whatever that meeting is bringing to me. And so just rest for a while and look at these pictures. This space where my heart can find purchase. This place where my spirit can, my thirsty spirit can find some quenching. The space where in the midst of whatever I can't control, I can find peace. Sometimes with friends like Hugo, sometimes far away, as many of these pictures are. But this last one is only 3 miles from my house. I can run there and be quenched in that space of remembrance, of resting. That idea of stopping and remembering, stopping and celebrating is important. For example, our readers today, the Moores, they have a special day where they remember. It's called Moore Family Day, where they celebrate them as a family and as the day that Cadence came into their life, and they celebrate that. What are your celebrations? What are the ways you bring yourself back and remember? As a church, we have those types of celebrations. In October, of course, we bless the animals. As a larger church, we often do that as well. Some of the celebrations like Easter and Christmas are ones that have been passed down and said, rest, remember, come back to the truth. That's what we do on a regular basis, is we remember, we give a space for that. If you are tired, if you are struggling, come to St. Francis and rest. Let this be a space for you to find new purchase in your life, new strength for your life. Come and let us be part of the way that you find peace. Thank you for your gifts to the church.
Come and find the quiet center in this crowded life we lead. Find the room for hope to enter. Find the frame where we are free. Clear the chaos and the clutter, clear our eyes that we can see all the things that really matter. Be at peace and simply be. Silence is a friend who claims us, cools the heat and shows the pace. God it is who speaks and names us, knows our being, touches base, making space within our thinking, lifting shades to show the sun, raising courage when we're shrinking, finding scope for faith begun. In the Spirit, let us travel, open to each other's pain. Let our loves and fears unravel, celebrate the space we gain. There's a place for deepest dreaming, there's a time for heart to care. In the Spirit, life is steaming, there is always room to spare. Come and find a quiet center. Be at peace in God.
Good morning. Now is our time for prayer. As I was prepping for today's prayer, I read the synopsis of Jim's commentary, which you will hear soon. I'd like to share that with you. Too often these days, the call in our lives is to be busier and more productive. While that certainly has its place, the divine imperative is also to be in peace and silence. In many ways, maybe even more so, for Jesus seemed to find his power and productivity framed through times of solitude and introspection. How are we quieting the frenzy in our lives and discovering God's presence with us? So I sat in Mother Nature and listened to the heartbeat of Mama Earth. I talked with my friends Moonstream Eagle and thought about Tony Redhouse, as well as the Wampanoag Indians that I grew up with in New England. And here's what I heard. This is the heartbeat of Mama Earth coming to us, the vibration of the earth, and the prayers that came are as follows. So join me from your heart. O great Spirit, who made all races, look kindly upon the whole human family and take away the arrogance and hatred which separates us from our brothers and sisters. May the sun bring us energy by day and the moon restore us by night. May the rain that we've just had wash away our worries. May the breeze blow new strength into our being. May we walk gently through the world and know its beauty all the days of our lives. May we surround all those at St. Francis and abroad with our love, with our healing grace, whatever is on your heart or in your mind this day, we pray. May the sun bring you energy by day. May the silence bring you peace and introspection and healing for all that need it. So be it. Ho and amen.
I am light, I am light. I am light, I am light. I am not the things my family did. I am not the voices in my head. I am not the pieces of the brokenness inside. I am light. 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 I'm not the mistakes that I have made, or any of the things that caused me pain. I am not the pieces of the dream I left behind. I am light. 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 I am divinity defined. I am the God on the inside. I am a star, a piece of it all. I am light. I am light.
Exodus 20, 8-11. Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. For 6 days you shall labor and do all your work. But the seventh day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. You shall not do any work, you, your son or your daughter, your male or female slave, your livestock, or the resident alien in your towns. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that is in them, but rested the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and consecrated it.
Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. When I was growing up, that phrase was always spoken in capital letters, spoken reverently. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. It's a phrase which defines much of my growing up, not necessarily in positive ways, because we didn't watch TV on that day. We didn't play games on that day. When I was in high school, you know that my very existence was running, and I did not run on the Sabbath. The one day I didn't. But I also remember my mom. On that day of rest, on that day of not doing things, I think it was her busiest day of all, because that's when she did a big meal for everyone, because we were all together. And not only that, after church, Dad would inevitably invite somebody back, and usually several somebodies back. And so we would have a big meal, and Mom had to do the work for it. So this last weekend, while I was with my family, we were together on the 4th of July, which was a Sunday, a Sabbath. And what was funny about it is that while we're up in the mountains, staying in cabins, in the rustic, and I got up and put on my shorts and t-shirt, there were others that got up and put on a white shirt and tie, as Mormons are wont to do on Sabbath. Even though it was picture day that day, and every one of those who had dressed up too much were going to have to change into t-shirts that signified what family they were a part of. And many of them didn't understand how that afternoon several of us went out to play frisbee golf, because of course you don't do that type of thing. Because Mormonism is good at legalizing the Sabbath and saying, what is it you can do, what is it you can't do? And like the Pharisees before them, they're good at saying, thou shalt not, connected to this commandment. Jesus had many struggles that way with the Pharisees, and that thou shalt not defined many of those struggles, where they were defining limits. But for him and for me, the Sabbath is not about limits. It is about possibilities. It is about listening to the Spirit. Mary Oliver, in our call to awareness, marvelous call to awareness, at one point said, let me keep my distance always from those who think they have the answers. I think this meme explains well what I'm trying to say. Sometimes we don't want to change, but that's the very purpose of the world, is to move towards the larger. You see, the Sabbath is a day where we seek larger. We seek infinite, not just faithfully obeying the words that we've already understood. It's about opening ourselves to possibilities and miracles beyond what we know. Not defining the limits of spirit or spirituality. But you see, that can be problematic for the organization. For however it is that a body has grouped themselves together, and that lies outside the control of that organization. And because of it, it can easily put its efforts into preserving itself, even if it's at the expense of the people it served. But spiritual power, I believe, resides in individuals and in the Holy Spirit within them, not in the church. The church can affirm and help each other understand, or we can try to wrest control of that Spirit. We can try to superimpose our wills and our wants upon that Spirit, or we can listen for the Spirit in the words and the actions of others, even when we don't completely understand them or even agree with them. We can let that Spirit lead us deeper into the wonder that is God and how that divine plays in the lives of those around us. Sabbath is one of the primary ways to achieve this goal. For our lives of necessity are focused on issues of the more immediate, on survival, if you would. Jobs, eating, sleeping, child raising, all those have-to-dos, all those things that are part of life, but sometimes the mundane and tedious part of life. And Spirit asks us to intentionally and purposely choose to take time to focus otherwise, to focus ourselves on the otherwise, something different than that typical, that mundane. Not necessarily in order to replace all of those obligatories, but to take time to open ourselves to something different, something more. Let me see if I can tell you what I mean. How many have ever seen a picture like this, or an animal like this bumping against the windows of your house, trying to escape through that closed windows? I can just imagine the frustration that the moth is feeling as he looks through that transparent pane of glass and sees exactly what he wants, the green of the grass or the flowers outside, and yet this invisible something stands between. The very visible space seems to be the way to leave, but it's not. And the view blinds the moth to what can be, blinds the moth to anything more. We can stand back a ways and maybe see there's an open door just 10 feet to the right, but the moth sees the outside world through that glass and can't quite escape. But we too can become spiritually blind in that same type of way, where we only see a certain picture and it so consumes us that we can't see anymore, unless we intentionally and purposely choose otherwise. But this happens in a very paradoxical way, because while, as I said, the Spirit resides in the individual, the corporate is what helps reveal Holy Spirit to each of us. In our call to awareness, it talked about the mysteries too marvelous to be understood, how two hands touch and the bonds will never be broken, how two people come from delight or the scars of damage to the comfort of a poem, how in that connection we discover something we couldn't have discovered alone. In each other we learn what we couldn't or wouldn't learn alone. That community is part of how it teaches us, not perfectly. Bertrand Russell was a man who struggled with religion, and yet in some ways is one of our best theologians because of that struggle. And in this meme, he tells us that atheism is what happens when you read the Bible. Christianity is what happens when somebody else reads it to you. Because the corporate, whether that corporate is the church, the family, the government, the economic community, it often tries to steal control from us by telling us the right answer, the only answer. But it also helps us to define ways that we can't alone. Now, Russell might say in ways that we shouldn't do alone. But the strength of the collective units that form us, whatever those units are, lies in the foundational images, ideas, and concepts that allow us to make sense of the world around us, while if it's a healthy entity, it also encourages us to discover and grow beyond them. Mary Oliver went on to say, talk about rivers and stones that are forever in allegiance with gravity while we ourselves dream of rising. That river itself makes my spirit rise even though it's caught in that flow forever downhill because of gravity. At my family reunion, I enjoyed many of the sources which formed me as I listened to my mother and my brothers and sisters and the next generations. But I also remembered why I followed a different voice. Not long ago, right here behind me, I sat with my mother shortly after this building was open, and she was oohing and ahhing at things, but she was also asking deep questions about St. Francis, about all of you, and the choices that we have made as a body. Why is this important? Why is St. Francis and what St. Francis is important? Why do you make these choices? Because, of course, her faith teaches her that some of those choices are wrong or different than what she would make. And I looked at her and I said very simply, because of what you taught me. You taught me to be the type of person who does the very same type of work that St. Francis is doing. Because of how in the meditations of my life, of my heart, the words of your mouth took on a wondrous new form. You see, what she gave to me was important, even though how I interpret it and how I move in it is very different than how she would. I would have never heard some of the voices that I've heard if I hadn't had her voice giving me the foundation. We sing a song often here at St. Francis called Listen. And it goes, listen to the song of the wind. Listen, God is singing. God is singing. Listen to the hope of the poor. Listen to the knock at the door. Listen to the dreams in the night. Listen to the cry to behold. Listen, God is singing. God is singing. Listen, silence speaks in the heart. Listen, God is singing. God is singing. My mom sang to me in my childhood and helped me to know more, as have many of my mentors and teachers, and even those who I didn't like much. They sang in ways that I was able to build on and become something more. Rumi, that amazing mystic, said it this way: your heart is the size of an ocean. Go find yourself in its hidden depths. You see, all those voices have spoken to me and they're all out there, but I have to somehow sit in a space where I can hear them and decide what do I do with them, even if it isn't, like in my story with my mom, isn't the intention of the one who spoke those words. I have to hear them, synthesize them, and draw myself into the new space they give to me. And I hope in the midst of this pandemic, this time of isolation, of separation, you've had some time to be able to do that, to be able to listen and hear what it is that's being spoken around you. And not only that, but to work on it and say, what does it mean for you? Because an essential question right now is, what do we do now? And we can look back at the loss, or we can look forward at the possibilities. In True Sabbath, we listen not just to the words we've already heard, even though we honor and allow that past to continue to speak and inform us, but we also expect the Spirit to carry those words into the ever-expanding possibilities of the future. But that takes listening, and not just with our ears, but with our hearts, with our spirits, with our very lives. It's not enough to just do what I was taught, where church closed all day to honor the Sabbath. we have to seek for the divine. We have to seek to find a Sabbath where we can hear God anew, where we can open ourselves up to that divine presence and see what it is that is being spoken for this moment, for this interaction with us. And then we have to let that Sabbath affect our actions. For Exodus, in talking about Sabbath, ties it back to the creation of God. That God, in the midst of working, in the midst of all the stuff that God needed to do and be in the world, stopped and rested before continuing that work. And we need to do the same. We rest in order to discover our new work. Alice and Felix had an interesting time through the pandemic. Allyson Felix is a 6-time gold medalist in the Olympic Games, and just this last month she qualified for her 5th Olympic Games, a remarkable feat. She is still part of a world record-holding relay team. But in the midst of the pandemic, she was looking at life differently. For just before it struck, her baby Cameron was born. And Nike, her sponsor at the time, did something too typical. They said, "You must take a pay cut during your pregnancy." And in that time of Sabbath, in that time of thinking and struggling with what to do next, she came up with the most remarkable thing. You might have heard about the women that are being told their babies have to stay at home because the Olympians that are being told their babies can't have to stay at home because of COVID protocols. Allyson Felix has donated $200,000 to be able to help each one of those mothers on the U.S. Olympic team to be able to bring their babies and have them there present with them and be the mothers that they are. You see, she used that time of struggle of her own, that time of rest, that time of figuring out what's next, to say, I'm going to help, I'm going to change, I'm going to become something more. Mary Oliver spoke it this way: "Let me keep company always with those who say, 'Look,' and laugh in astonishment and bow their heads." How do you rest? How is it helping you remember what's important? And how is it that that Sabbath time will make you look in astonishment and in adoration of the wonder of this world? Amen.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again, because a vision softly creeping left its seeds while I was sleeping, and the vision that was planted in my brain still remains within the sound of silence. In restless dreams I walked alone, narrow streets of cobblestone, neath the halo of a street lamp. I turned my collar to the cold and damp, for my eyes were stabbed by the flash of a neon light that split the night and touched the soul of silence. And in the naked light I saw 10,000 people, maybe more, people talking without speaking, people hearing without listening, people writing songs that voices never share, and no Words that I do not know. Silence like a cancer grows. Hear my words that I might reach you. Take my arms that I might reach you. Hold my words by silent rage ourselves. Echo in the wells of silence, and the people bow and pray to the neon god they made, and the sun flash out is warning, and the words that are once for me, and the signs of the words of the prophets are written on the subway walls and tenement halls, and whispered in the sound of silence.
So take a sip of coffee. Stop for a moment. Stop and rest. Relax your heart. Relax your fear. Relax that spirit within you so that you can hear that greater spirit that flows between us, that pure spirit. Stop and rest. Hear that spirit and let it do magnificent things in you. Amen.
I remember who I am. I remember who you are and who we are. Is pure spirit. I remember who I am. I remember who you are and who we are. Is pure spirit. We are life, we are light, we are love. We are joy, we are peace, we are wisdom. Beloved community, we are pure spirit. I remember who I am. I remember who you are, who we are. Is pure spirit. I remember who I am. I remember who you are and who we are. Is pure spirit. We are life, we are light, we are love. We are joy, we are peace, we are wisdom. Beloved community, we are pure spirit. Beloved community, we are pure spirit.